Right guys, right away I have to inform you about the situation in Pokrovsk. The Russian army went into the town, but for now just sabotage group. However, it already shows the presence of the Russian army men and the Russian drones in the settlement. How do I know it? Well, with the help of this video, it shows the encounterment of the battle between a Russian sabotage group and Ukrainian soldiers who were driving the pickup truck, probably delivered to Ukrainian army by volunteers. Usually those vehicles are in lack of the armor, but they're maneuverable. So Russian sabotage group, they shoot the car on the way. Our soldiers left the car, so you can see it's shattered, and there was one guy in a trunk, if I say it named correctly in English, so at the back of the car there, unfortunately, he is no go. But from what I understood, 2 soldiers made it alive. The particular spot was geolocated right at this road. You may see that there is the refueling station, so yeah, it's kind of easy to find it on the map. Later on, Russians published this video. This is the same track, the same refueling station, so our soldiers left it, but Russians managed to send their drone, cable control drone, and they hit the track. And yes, unfortunately, there was the Ukrainian soldiers at the back. I cannot show you those images here, but he was unalive during shooting. Plus, I managed to find out one more video from the Russian channel, so the sign of the refueling station, the same truck which was shot. Yeah, actually there were 4 soldiers on board. Those dots are 1, 2, 3. Soldiers managed to leave the truck after shooting. Unfortunately, 1 stayed inside. Unable already to move, and I listened to the video. Our guys say that they were really surprised that Russians are already there in Pokrovsk. They were not waiting for this sabotage attack. So we already see that Russia is using the combination of the drone strike, sabotage attack, surveillance drones operation on territory of the city. Yeah, they did it before, but without actual groups being deployed. And those are not the standard Russian Ivans. No, those are really capable Russian forces able to operate behind the front lines, hiding for many days and then shoot at the proper time. Probably they stayed in this forest patch. And yeah, Ukraine has some of the defense lines here. Ukraine even went on a counterattack before from those positions. But just imagine difficulties delivering supplies from Pokrovsk, from other places to Pokrovsk by the time Russia is using everything, including artillery, aviation, gliding bombs. It is very difficult, guys, very difficult. I would say it's a miracle that Pokrovsk is still under Ukrainian control. I predicted it to be occupied by Russia the last winter, but they haven't managed to do it. Well, for now, they started their offensive from this newly created bridgehead towards Rodinske, and I can see that they moved to this direction. Yeah, they moved quite a lot, I would say, for the last 24 hours. You may see how far from Mayak they already crossed this road between Shahove and Novoshakhove. Plus, they also moved towards Nikoronivka. Yeah, this is the huge expansion they created for the last several months in this place. And their next move is pretty much understandable. They want to attack from here and they push in Pokrovsk, as we already see judging on the videos coming from the front lines. On my Telegram channel, I published the information about the Russian saboteurs who were deployed in Pokrovsk. Part of them were already KA by Ukrainian soldiers. The operation is ongoing to clear them out, but not yet fully completed, so our guys are searching for them. Unfortunately, we have losses on our side as well. So during the fights with those saboteurs, during their ambushments, Ukraine, of course, suffered losses, as you saw. By the way, it's not the first time happening. I saw tons of the videos from other Ukrainian regions, like, for example, Sumy, Chernigiv, where Russia left with their forces. However, they might deploy their saboteurs over there to ambush Ukrainian border control patrols and many more. But it's the war, it's coming from both of the sides, so Ukraine also sometimes deployed their troops on territory of Russia behind the front lines, special operations. Yeah, it's the modern day war scenario. Not just the drones are used out there, but because of the drones you cannot use like big army groups. Well, Russia sometimes uses it as well, but Ukraine deploys smaller groups for attack or counterattack missions. About the pickup trucks, well, Ukraine is using them elsewhere in different modifications. The most popular is the standard one, like infantry delivery or goods delivery vehicle, but sometimes Ukraine modify the vehicles even as the rocket artillery systems. As this photo was published recently, this system was installed on pickup truck. It's the new system. It's called Altius 700M. It's not actually the rocket artillery system. This is the launching unit for the barrage shells. Those are basically drones which fly and search for the target and after it dive to hit. Here are the debris of this drone, which was found by Russians, and Britain promised Ukraine to deliver those units or those systems in March. So the delivery was quite quick, I would say. But as you can see, Ukraine is losing those tracks, and just with the help of the volunteers, it is possible to purchase more of those. And this is the new Jake's Bro initiative, 1 million fundraiser. So I'm gonna put this video in the video description below. You may check it out. I mean, his initiative, and it's not his first fundraise. I guess it's already fifth or fourth, I don't remember actually. He did lots of them, collecting almost $5 million altogether. That's crazy. Yeah, just shout out to this huge fundraise once again, as I usually do on my channel. And this is one more video filmed by our guys. They saw the drone and left the vehicle just before the strike. Unfortunately, as you see, this pickup truck is also no-go. There were some of the supplies. This is L200 Mitsubishi, I guess. So, of course, our guys, they need those vehicles. Right, guys, and we have more information concerning one. So, Russian infantry was spotted in Zvirove village. It is not far away from Pokrovsk. As you see on the map, Zvirove is still in a gray zone, but de facto it is now being occupied, and Russians, well, they're presented here very, very close to Pokrovsk. So if we check out the distance, like for example to the street, it's 2 kilometers maybe. Yeah, if we speak about this gray area, so it's, I would say they're already in Pokrovsk. Yeah, here we have the video. Some of the Russian infantry, they're walking there almost freely. So for Russian sabotage groups, it's a very short distance to go and being deployed to Pokrovsk. And here I want to say, guys, that if you want to support my motivation for me to film videos more, please support me on Patreon. The link for my page is in the video description just below. Thank you so much for supporting my motivation on YouTube membership and on Patreon, obviously, because after all, it's independent from this platform. I mean, the Patreon itself, so it's good. And if you don't have the financial opportunity to support me here, just press your huge like to this video, and also you may subscribe for the channel to watch more of my videos. Thank you so much for that as well. Let's continue. But at the same time, we have some of the good news coming from the Chasiv Yar. Ukraine is using their aviation. This video was published just yesterday. There were some of the strikes on this Russian facility with their infantry barracks. Russians were hiding there. It is no-go for them, as you see. But guys, we also have the good news coming. For example, here Russia tried to deploy the S-300 system. I guess it happened in the Kursk region or Belgorod, and Ukraine sent some of the HIMARS shells there. They visited the system, and it's no-go absolutely. Well, according to Russian sources, it's even S-400, so more advanced, more expensive system, not S-300 as I thought before, and it was hit in Belgorod Oblast. Nice. Yeah, luckily we have the confirmation from the surveillance drone, but sometimes we don't have those kind of the videos because Russia may deploy their systems really far away from the front lines, but Ukraine still might reach those with HIMARS. Actually, Russia lost lots and lots of the air defense recently. Ukraine intensified the strikes on those, which in its turn helped Ukraine to reach main goals on territory of Russia. For example, recently there was the strike on one of the most important Russian airfields in Rostov-on-Don. Let me tell you more about it. So this is Millerovo airfield out there in Russia, Rostov Oblast, very important Russian base for the attack aviation Sukhoi-25 airplanes, which are used to back up infantry of Russian army. They may carry bombs, fire rockets, and shoot from the cannon, so it's the analog of A-10 airplane. Well, for me, A-10 is better, and in general, according to almost all of the characteristics, A-10 is better. But still, Sukhoi-25 is a really capable machine, so it was the attempt of Ukrainian army once again to get rid of this Russian attack aviation. So yeah, we have the evidence. This is the Russian military airfield, and something is definitely burning there. Whether those are the airplanes, so far no source reported about the loss of the Russian planes. Even the Ukrainian intelligence is not publishing any sort of the information. This is Ukrainian drone, Luty. It hit this Novokuybyshev petrochemical company factory. Yeah, sorry, not the factory, but the largest processing terminal for the natural gas, where Russia makes the gas liquid. And it is the biggest, one of the biggest facilities for that kind in Europe. So we have those videos with just drone flying in the skies, but we don't have any videos of the impact itself. However, Russians reported that facility was definitely hit. And as you may see on this photo, Russians are trying to secure with some sort of the net the most vulnerable spots of this facility. And here, I guess you might see it too, yeah? Right, guys, more about the cable drones. So this is the standard range. This video was published by Ukrainian side. It is happening on territory of the Kursk region, Russian Federation. A Ukrainian drone went really far away and it dig down to the trench. So you may operate inside the trench, keeping the good quality of the video. So drone operator may fly very precisely, aiming almost everything. It's the new step in the drone technologies. You may check out every corner. Oh my god, this is so precise. Well, here Russians unfortunately have advantage over Ukraine. First of all, they introduced this technology of the cable drones and they started the massive production. They saw how those drones could be used very effectively on a very long range, and they produced lots of the fiber optic cables. Ukraine hit the factory where Russians were producing the fiber optic cables themselves, but still Russia has those drones. Yeah, and guys, on this channel, I'm not sugarcoating the events. I'm saying the things as they are. For example, if there is something bad happening, I tell about it as well. If Russians, for example, are gaining more territories, I also tell about it. So it's not like Russia will collapse tomorrow. No, their economy is devastated. No, their economy is on the way to be devastated. Their army is on the way to lose, but so far it's far to be over, and Russia will not collapse in a nearby perspective. Well, there could be black swans like it happened with Prigozhin. We'll never know. Russia is unstable. It showed the problems are out there, but they're not like screaming out loud to red alert or something. No, still Russia has advantage over Ukraine in everything, in military production, economy, everything. And since this war is long, it's all about resources. The positive side, however, yeah, we have this image here. I'll explain you why. That Gazprom company is going down very fast, and it's a very important company for entire Russian economy. Why do we have it here? Because it's kind of the strange China-made toy Labubu. The capitalization of the company which produces those toys is more now than capitalization of Gazprom. Just imagine this. A single company that produces those freaking, yeah, kind of the popular dolls is more than entire Russian Gazprom. In 2023 and 2024 it was less than 1 billion, and after they started to produce those toys, you see what happened. Huge jump, but for Russia it's dramatic fall of their main companies. But still, inertia of the Russian economy is big, because economy is big, the country is big, everything is upscaled in Russia, so they require lots of the time to really fill everything. Sanctions and the stupid actions of their own government. The only ones who are saving the Russian economy are those clerks who work in the Russian central bank and other Russian financial institutions. They really do actually fantastic job for Russia, saving Russia in the worst circumstances possible. And here, guys, is Gazprom. It's falling down dramatically, and you see it's nearly, I don't know, but it's less than Labubu. So Labubu, Gazprom. Labubu, Gazprom. And the thing, guys, that Russia is not willing to stop. Budanov on his today's press conference mentioned that Russia is willing to invest 1.1 trillion United States dollars as equivalent into their military for the next few years. Budanov said that it's going to be the biggest army reform in Russia since the collapse of the Soviet Union. It means that Putin is all in into the war. He will continue it for many years, maybe not just in Ukraine. Budanov says that Kremlin is mobilizing the entire political system, economy and society for potential large-scale war with this huge investment into the military by 2036. So at least for the next 10 years, Putin is planning to rule the country in the war environment. Budanov also mentioned that the formation of the new divisions units is already underway. We know that in Russia there is the conscription service, which means that many of the young Russian men are going compulsory to the Russian army. And after they finish their service, Putin might use them once again because they're like this mobilization resource in Russia. And for this reason, Putin is closing the informational field of the country entirely. Oh wow, Russia is full in mobilization, preparing at least for it. There is the new project of the law which was introduced to the Russian parliament, Duma, where they want to put the changes to the military service terms introduced in the federal law. This article here, they want to provide the service throughout all the year, so during the calendar year. Yeah, I can read Russian, so it's no problem for me. Well, that means that the military commissions will work all the time to get those Russian men to the army for their service, young Russian men. And for this kind of the service, Russia doesn't need to pay millions of rubles because it's compulsory. But usually a Russian army doesn't send those soldiers directly to the front lines because this is kind of the unpopular within Russia. They all remember Chechen War, Afghan War, where those people were sent to fight against their will. Now there is a volunteer army in Russia, so you want money, you go fight. There is absolutely moral okay from the Russian society to accept the losses. But here, probably Putin wants to cross that line, a very unpopular decision, but you know, Russian society, they're still dreaming somewhere, they're very volatile, they're very lazy, and they may accept even that move. So Putin tries to check out if it's okay, boiling his country, society and economy all together like that frog in experiment. Then you increase the fire little by little for the frog not to feel what is happening. So yeah, I would suggest for the Russian man to leave the country almost immediately, because something is happening, something is going to happen, and Putin is unable to fight as he does right now without announcing a new huge mobilization. Alright guys, the move which I do not support as the most of Ukrainian big volunteers and military. Ukraine moves against independent anti-corruption bodies. Yes. So what happened that Ukraine voted for access of the Ukrainian prosecution office to those independent anti-corruption bodies like NABU, that till this day was completely independent from president's office, from parliament, from anyone. But now it should grant the access for everything. Moreover, they should obey the prosecution office orders, which is absolutely not okay. Yes, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau wasn't working that very well, but still it was working independently. And it was one of the main demands from IMF, from the European Union, from the United States of America, for Ukraine to have that independent anti-corruption body. But today it is no more. Well, Europe and the Ukrainian creditors, they're just angry about it. United States under Donald Trump, they do not care. Maybe that's why Ukraine decided to do the step. But there will be no European Union membership if that thing introduced. So I hope that they renew the independence of those bodies, because it is crazy. And our volunteers like Sergei Sternenko, the Deep State team, and many others whom I follow, they all against this move. It is not okay, and our society, Ukrainian society, doesn't agree with this move of parliament at all, because it consolidates lots of the power in one hand, and there is no punishment mechanism for corruption, independent punishment mechanism. Well, using the government sources, they say that they found some of the spies, Russian spies, in National Anti-Corruption Bureau. I honestly think it's the bullshit, and even if it is confirmed, so you may find those few of the Russian spies elsewhere in Ukrainian army, in the Ukrainian SBU, military intelligence, they're elsewhere. It's Russia, they have advanced spy network. Why don't you do anything with the fucking Odessa mayor who has a Russian passport? So, double standards here, you see? That drives me mad, guys, and I promise you to tell the things as they are, so they're sometimes not okay. About President Zelensky, I used to live in Ukraine under his presidency. He's not ideal, far to be ideal, but it's the best choice we have under current conditions. Now, I would not like to see elections happening in Ukraine, especially right now that the war is ongoing. It could divide the country. It could be used by Russians to disturb Ukraine from inside, so I do not support the idea of elections. But at the same time, I may criticize the Ukrainian government, especially for fighting against independent anti-corruption bureaus. It even sounds strange, right? The biggest Ukrainian volunteers, they all call not to sign this new law for the parliament of Ukraine because it cancels all the European initiatives of Ukraine. De facto, Ukraine cannot be a member of the EU without independent anti-corruption bodies. But no, Verkhovna Rada, so parliament voted, and there is no independent anti-corruption bureau. Well, Europe and allies, they will continue to support Ukraine despite the Ukrainian government, because Ukraine itself, people of Ukraine, they choose the vector for the European development. And with next elections, finally, there will be everything restored. But now it's a very bad step done by the government. I don't support it at all. What can I say? It's fuck up. They're happy, huh? Meanwhile, European Commission members are really concerned about today's vote in Rada, so in Parliament, the dismantling of the key safeguards protecting National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. Its independence, a serious step back. Independent bodies like NABU and SAPO are essential for Ukraine EU path. That's what I was saying. Rule of law remains in the very center of EU accession negotiations. So Orban would say he's right, Ukraine is corrupt. They're dismantling the only independent systems which are designed for Ukrainian path to EU. Well, President has now the right not to sign what Rada voted today. If he signs, it would be a no-go for Ukraine path to the European Union, and there will be more corruption. That's what I can say. People do not support that stuff, this movement. Only the parliament members support it because they're fucking corrupt. Alright, we have the report from the outskirts of Melitopol, the occupied territory of Ukraine in the south. And there is the Russian ammunition facility. We may see how it burns. So Russians report just about the wild fires. Yeah, the grass, as you can see, may burn here. It's very dry, but at first it was the heat on this facility, as the Ukrainian side reports. Alright, what we have here is the Russian Shahi drone that was intercepted by some of the drones. Somehow we have this video from the 47th Magura Brigade. Yeah, they published different of the other videos showing the successful drone operation interception of the targets very high. Guys, I wouldn't believe if someone told me like 2 years ago that Ukraine would be successful using freaking FPV drones to hit objects flying very high in the sky, sometimes several kilometers above the ground. I thought that it is impossible, but Ukraine does it, and does it very effectively. Okay, so Ukraine has received the special service systems for maintaining F-16s. This is the mobile complex support system, consists of many of the trucks used for rearming the airplanes, so they deliver some of the weapons, using for maintenance, for the crew rest, for kitchen, everything is out there. This mobile group might be deployed in every sort of the airfield, even secondary airfields are okay for the use. There's some of the trucks, this is the ground power unit from what I see. So it increases versatility and portability of Ukrainian aviation, F-16s. But the thing is that everything of that was purchased with the help of our volunteers. So Ukrainian people themselves, they carry a huge load of everything. Drones, trucks, equipment of the infantry, even supporting Ukrainian Air Force. That's why I'd like to see for the government to step more into really what is needed for Ukraine. Guys, without volunteers, Ukraine would have lost lots of the territories and maybe Russians would occupy Kiev even. That's how the volunteer movement is important. It's not just about those volunteers who donate or those volunteers who purchase, it's about also those who join Ukrainian army. I mean army men, volunteers. Because I think that Ukrainian government really failed the mobilization campaign. Completely failed. So yeah, thankfully for ordinary people, Ukrainian aviation becomes more capable. About Usyk, I forgot to tell you in my last video, well, you already know the outcome of this battle. Ukraine really has good boxing school. Our boxers are famous in entire world, and Usyk is obviously one of the greatest. And first of all, it was Usyk's personal victory as many others before. He did it himself through lots of the sweat and blood and training. Yeah, it is very difficult to reach those kind of the heights, but he did it. And yeah, I'm happy that he's Ukrainian as me, and also we are both from Crimea. But that night some small event happened, and I don't know now my attitude towards Jake Paul, because before I hated this guy a lot. So Jake Paul was there in Wembley during the fight, and later that the fight is over, he went to the stage. He was filmed by many of the cameras, and he showed this symbol of the 128th Ukrainian Separate Brigade, Okrema Zakarpatska Brigada. I don't know how even to translate it in English. He went to the cameras and said that he silenced everyone. He means Usyk. He is one of the greatest in history. Unlimited respect for him and the Ukrainian people. Fuck. How should I behave to Jake now? Like, how can I hate this guy? Continue to hate him. Maybe he's just flexing about Usyk's victory. He wants more attention. I don't know, but those words they are also important because they raise the awareness, especially for Ukrainian military. You know, those patches, emblems, not just for Ukraine in general, but also for military. And it's important for us because Ukraine needs the support. And this is the Facebook page of the Separate Mountain Assault Transcarpathian Brigade. So Transcarpathian, it's Zakarpatska. Okay, understood now. They published this post. You may see that this emblem is basically the same. And here we have it. Usyk is there. Also we have Shevchenko with their emblem. Yeah, so 128, it's kind of the famous brigade of Ukrainian army. It's good, it's awesome, but from Jake Paul it was like a surprise, big surprise for me. Even bigger than Usyk won the battle. I knew that he would win anyways. Also it was the surprise that it was a knockout at 5th round. Usually they fight till the very end and judges decide who is the winner. But here it was definitely the undisputed victory of Usyk and no one may say anything else. Great news from YouTube. It seems like after all they start to moderate pro-Russian and pro-Chinese propaganda channels. So here we have it. Google announced Monday the removal of nearly 11,000 YouTube channels and other accounts tied to state-linked propaganda, China and Russia. And they say more, maybe Iran or something else, maybe North Korea. The takedown included more than 7,700 YouTube channels linked to China. So mostly it is the China bans Google on its own territory, bans YouTube, but it uses the same service to provide their Chinese influence in the West, like open propaganda. Yeah, pro-Russian propaganda channels also were blocked, 2,000 removed, but I must say that there are tons and tons of more pro-Russian channels that I even have in my recommendation feed sometimes because I speak about Ukraine. So I have this pro-Russian chat also recommended for me by YouTube itself. And now about Patriot systems, which are crucially needed for Ukraine. There is the agreement between the United States and Germany. The Germany will send its Patriot systems to Ukraine and will have the replacement from the United States of America. But Germany, here we have the message from the defense minister, is not willing to send Patriots right away. At first, they want to receive systems from the United States of America, and only after that they are going to send their own systems to Ukraine. That might take 6 up to 8 freaking months by the time Ukraine crucially needs the air defense right now. And those 6-8 months to wait under current White House administration, they might change their mind many of the times. Maybe that's why Germans are concerned about it, because they may stay without air defense systems for themselves. That's why they want the reinsurance. Well, anyways, the situation is not good for Ukraine because Trump actually introduced this deal. He wanted Germany to support Ukraine right now, but it seems like Germany is not okay with it. At first, there was another solution for the United States to send their Patriot systems right away to Ukraine. Norway and Germany were willing to invest into the production of the 3 Patriot systems for United States in this case. But with this new deal, at least -1 Patriot system and just 2 will come from Germany. So we see huge downsides already of this deal, judging on the information coming. And now guys, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot, and I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.